The podcast you're about to hear involves true stories, which may contain graphic content that is not suitable for children. Listener's discretion is advised. This is Esoteric Oddities.
Hey guys! Would this be Esoteric Oddities if we said anything other than hey guys?
This is the last episode for October.
Spooky-tober.
Which means we have one final guest. And we're also going to read some of your emails. And thank y'all for sending them in. Unfortunately, we're not going to get to all of them. However, maybe sometime at a later month. Yeah, we'll read the ones that you guys sent us.
Put it in the box.
But we have a very special guest with us.
Her name is Patricia.
Hello.
Trish for short, or Trashy.
Hey, Trashy.
Hey guys.
Me and Trish met at American Fecal. Just kidding.
I love how you're like, just kidding.
Fecal matter. Up
Fecal matter, right. I feel like we do deal with a lot of shit.
Well,
Okay?
when I worked at H&M, there was a girl who, there was like dookie on the pants that were in the changing room.
Oh, the
Stop.
shit we have found.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
In the dressing
Pee
room.
in the dressing room.
Used tampons.
We love it all.
Gotta love it.
So we met 4 years ago?
Oh shit, really?
Yeah, because I think it was when I first moved here. And I was like, oh my god, you should come over one night. You would love my friend Jonathan. And here we are.
And here we are. Oh, that was harmonized.
Here we yeet.
And she also fostered my cat before I had my cat, Buffy.
Yeah.
Yes.
She was a terrible mom.
When her name was Sabaro.
It was Saba, and I had
Saba
her
Winks.
and her 3 babies.
But Saba is, it means grandpa.
Yep. So not anything close to mother.
Yeah, no. Well, it's close.
Yeah.
It's like mother's father.
Familial.
I mean, you wouldn't have a grandmother without a mom.
Yep.
What?
You wouldn't have a grand. Yeah, that's true. Where's the lie?
There isn't one.
So, as much as you guys like to hear us talk shit and just shoot the banter back and forth, I got an incredible email that may or may not be 15 pages long. So we're gonna jump into it, starting with
Right now. So,
Sarah's story.
So this is a personal story.
I feel like you've been holding out on us
I
because
sure have.
you're like, I don't
saved
have a
this.
ghost story.
I saved it. So, this is about my cousin. My cousin passed away. Oh shit.
6 years ago?
6 years ago. No, maybe longer.
I don't.
2013.
Yeah.
5 years ago.
Right.
He committed suicide, so it's a very sore subject in my family.
Mm-hmm.
But here we go. So this man lived right next to my cousin's house. His name was Elmo, and he was a very eccentric man. He had like statues, and he had an in-ground pool. It was very like villa-ish.
He had money, honey.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So, he passed away, and the state trooper moved into the house. So the state trooper, everything was fine. He started gutting the house, taking all the statues out. He covered the pool, everything like that. So, him and the state troopers, the state trooper and his wife, they had a baby. And as the baby got older, they would hear her talking to someone in the monitor. So they're like, who are you talking to? And she would say, Elmo. And they're like, oh, like the toy Elmo. And she was like, no. And they would ask what this Elmo looked like. And she said that he had a hat. He was wearing a hat. So I guess the state trooper brought in a medium because he wanted to sell the house. And he didn't know if this would, like, if the ghost would kind of potentially, like,
Fuck anything up.
yeah, so the medium comes and she's saying like, "Yep, I'm picking up an Elmo. He has like a black hat, blah blah
Red
blah."
hair.
Right. So then she's like, "I'm picking up something else." So then she's like, "My aunt's name's Marianne," and she was like, "Well, I'm picking up something else. Do you know a Mary?" And like you don't think like right away like
Right.
it's
Making
that
the
person,
right.
right? So and the state trooper was like, "No, I don't." And she was like, "Do you know an Anne?" And he was like, "No." And she was like, "Well, I'm like picking up something else." And she was like, "I have Robbie here." And that's my cousin. So they called my aunt over to the house and they were like, "Robbie just wants you to know that everything is okay and he's fine and he's happy where he is." And She said that he was walking through the footprints, and in his like eulogy card, it said like walking through the footprints.
Wow.
Right, and then there was another one where I guess it was like my step grandmother through marriage, she had called a hotline, like a psychic hotline,
Right.
and my cousin also reached out to her through there as well.
Whoa.
That's crazy.
That's wicked.
Yeah,
That's really cool that your aunt was like home to like go
Yeah.
and talk to the
I
medium.
know, right?
That's
I'm really
cool.
glad it worked out like that.
I
But
got like
some
closure, kind of.
Mm-hmm.
some medium ghost stuff.
I love that.
Not really a spooky story.
I know, but like a lot of them are like nice.
They
and
are.
heartfelt, so
Mhm.
that's nice.
Comforting.
Exactly.
All right, so this was emailed to us by Adriana, who lives in Colorado, and let me tell y'all, I was shooketh by this email.
Shooky bookie.
Thank you. Okay, so Adriana is a Colorado native, and she used to live in a town really close to the Rocky Mountains. And while living there, she said that she had some serious paranormal experiences. So she writes, I have always been sensitive to the other side, but it wasn't until I started working at this tavern in my town that I had been able to truly validate any of my experiences in such a way. My first experience I want to tell you about happened at the tavern about 6 months after I had started working there. So one day I was food running, which basically means I would take the plates and pass them into the kitchen to the tables for people to eat. And it was still pretty early in the afternoon, and we didn't have any customers yet, so I was hanging in the kitchen/pass area on my phone, burning time. All of a sudden, I see a strange dude in the kitchen, so I call to him. Sir, can I help you out? The dining room is this way. He looks me dead ass in the face, says nothing, and walks out of the back of the kitchen. I immediately felt weird, like my skin started to tingle, and I couldn't speak, and it honestly made me panic for a hot second. Instead of going after this possible patron, I decided, fuck it, if he wants to eat, he'll walk around front to the restaurant and ask for a table. He never came and got a table. I saw him again 2 weeks later. This time I saw him in the back bar, aka the lounge area. I was coming in for my shift and was walking through the lounge to get to the front of the restaurant, and there he was standing by the stairs that led to the basement office/storage area. Again, I got this burning, tingly feeling on my skin, and it felt hard to breathe, but this time I looked directly at him. His face was distorted. I looked down for just a second, and when I looked back up, he was gone. Just completely disappeared in front of me. There was nowhere else to go. He would have had to pass physically through me to leave out the back door, and I didn't see him walking to the stairs to the office. I was completely freaked out. I had to pause for a second to look around and reconsider how much I was smoking before work because I was shook. I pulled myself together and went about my workday. I did my thing, I made some money, and I was getting ready to go home. So naturally, I went downstairs to the office to do my server drop. That is when I saw him again. And literally, I thought I was losing my shit. There he was, hovering over my boss at a desk as if he was helping her do paperwork. That's when I knew he was there because of her. So I very calmly made my drop, said goodbye to my boss, and walked back up the stairs and booked it home. I saw him 3 more times around her that fall. Eventually, after confiding in my friend and pulling some cards for answers, I found out who my boss's father was. So in this story, Adriana sent me a Washington Post article that was written in 2002 by a gentleman named Peter Pearl. It is an insane story about her boss's father, and it is so fucking insane. I don't know how it's not turned into a movie, and you bet your bottom dollar I'm going to read it to you. Yes, you guys, thanks to Adriana, you guys are getting a little slice of true crime in this episode. And let's just say, like, you might think you know what's going to happen, but, like, at the end, you're going to be like, holy shit, what the fuck just happened? So,
Lay it on me.
this boss lady's father was Alan Chmurney. At 22, Alan had married a woman who was 7 years older than her, and she was his teacher when he graduated with top honors from the University of Illinois. They went off to UCLA together, where just after they arrived in 1966, she gave birth to their only child, a daughter, who then became the boss lady. He stayed married to her for 35 years, leading a seemingly normal and successful life, living in a comfortable house on a beautiful wooded acre in Frederick, Maryland, with a retirement place in Colorado. When he was put on trial for his deeply disturbing actions, Allen was a 57-year-old scientist, a brilliant organic chemist who studied with a Nobel lecture professor at UCLA, then accumulated some 15 patents in his own name for a chemical process that he developed in 3 decades with several major blah, blah, blah. Okay, so basically this dude was hella smart. So he was getting shit done. He was a scientist, super smart dude. So how did a man so highly regarded end up in court for doing some crazy shit? And also, what did he do? Well, let's meet the woman involved here. When Marta Bradley was 28 years old, she met Alan Schmerney at the Oceanics Bioscience Corporation, where she worked as an administrative assistant.
Schmerney.
Marta was an accomplished classical musician. She played bass for the Baltimore Opera Orchestra and Fairfax and Alexandria symphonies as part-time gigs. And blah. So she was an attractive woman with dark, sharp features and sparkling green eyes. She was upbeat and energetic. She came across as a cheerleader, although she had never been one when she grew up in the Virginia suburbs. So Marta had met her husband, Scott Bradley, and they were both music students at Indiana University. Scott was a jazz trumpeter, and they would go on the road together playing orchestras, basically kind of like little gypsies. They were married for about 5 years. And they were pursuing their musical careers. They lived in a small place in Laurel, Maryland. They had 2 dogs and were planning on moving into a bigger place and starting a family. So Oceanics Biosciences Corporation had about 35 employees. So it wasn't hella small, but it wasn't hella big. And it was generally a close-knit group of friends. So in the small office, Marta Bradley and Jean Lancaster, who was a lab manager, often talked and gossiped with Alan Schmerney. So just, reiterating that this girl's 28 and this Alan dude is about 50, probably 5 at this time. Yikes. They're just work friends, but they're gossiping and stuff. So Alan was a lanky 6 feet tall, 185 pounds. He was an avid outdoorsman. He kept in shape by walking and hiking, blah, blah, blah. So Alan had limited contact with women, particularly in the workspace where the line between friendliness and flirtation can be blurred. He had a few close friends. None of them were women. Alan enjoyed Marta's attention, obviously. Over time, though, he began sharing his personal problems, which seemed ever mounting, and he played heavily on Marta's sympathies. First, it was the fear of cancer. He was acting quiet and withdrawn, but kept saying never mind when she asked him what was wrong. Then Alan told Marta that his doctors told him he appeared to have stomach cancer. A few weeks later, when he was brooding in his office again, Marta asked what was wrong, and he said he had been going through credit card receipts and determined that his wife, Gwen, was cheating on him. Later, he would say he was staying with Gwen only for complicated personal reasons and that they were living on opposite ends of the house. Weeks later, Alan said his doctors had been wrong about the cancer, and Alan seemed ecstatic. He told Marta he'd met a wonderful woman named Debbie, and he was in love. He said he'd met her at a UCLA alumni function, and that she was passionate, beautiful, successful, and 29 years old. So for several weeks, he talked intermittently about how amazing Debbie was and how he felt like a young man again. Shortly afterward, a photograph of Marta Bradley from the 1995 office Christmas party went missing from the company bulletin board. For some reason, Marta decided to ask Alan if she knew what happened to it, and he said, quote, "Yeah, I went to go get your picture, but it wasn't there. Yeah, I was going to show Debbie what you looked like, but it wasn't there." So, wondering why Alan wanted to show her picture to Debbie, Marta felt off. She felt a fleeting sense that there was no Debbie and that Alan was making her up. Nonetheless, they would occasionally talk about Debbie and even suggested several times that Alan took her on a double date with Marta and her husband Scott, but he always put it off or made excuses of why he could not do so. Then, in June 1996, Alan called Marta at the office. He told her he wasn't coming into work, but said, "Please don't tell them why, because I don't want people at work to know." Alan was in tears. He was bawling on the telephone. He said, "Debbie was killed last night in an automobile accident in San Francisco."
What?
Convenient, right? Several weeks later, an unexplained $500 deposit appeared in Marta Bradley's checking account. Oceanics automatically deposited her paychecks, so she asked the accounting manager and mentioned it to people around her office that somebody may have made a mistake. Several days later, she got an unsigned typewritten note in the mail that said, "It's not a mistake, just think of it as your own NEA grant," referring to the National Endowment of the Arts. So apparently, previously, Alan had told her that he liked to help people and he had the money to do it. But when she asked if he had given her the $500, Alan said he had no idea what she was talking about. Alan Schmerney intermittently seemed depressed, talked about his marriage being over, about missing Debbie, and how terrible things always seemed to happen to him. So Marta repeatedly urged him to seek counseling. Then this is when his cancer returned with vengeance. This time, he pulled Marta into the office toward the end of the workday and said, "Before you go, I have to talk to you." He said he was going on vacation and he had something for her. He said, "I'm going away. I may never see you again. And with everything that I've been going through, you've been like a daughter for me. And I want you to have something in return for that."
A daughter who's the same age as the girl he was dating.
It's funny because his daughter was the same age as this girl,
Oh no.
as Marta. Marta and his
That's
daughter were the
weird.
same
That
age.
girl he was
The
dating
boss lady?
was like the same age.
Yeah. So he told her that his cancer had grown larger and wrapped around his internal organs, and he had to go to the Mayo Clinic for special tests, which they had to freeze a portion of his organs, take out a sample, and test the cancer. He begged her not to tell anybody. He told Marta, "I'm not even telling my wife or my mother. My daughter doesn't even know. I don't want to freak them out." Then he gave her his gift. Marta Bradley had a pair of rhinestone hoop earrings, and Alan said he remembered someone once asking her if they were real diamonds. She laughed and said, "If they were real, would I be working here?"
Oh.
Now Alan said, "I've decided because you've been like a daughter, I want you to have these," and handed her a dazzling pair of diamond earrings. Immediately, she said she could not accept them and that it was too much. But he insisted that he absolutely wanted her to have them, saying, "I may never see you again. You must take them. Wear them in the orchestra pit. Wear them on stage at your concerts." He was shaking. He had tears in his eyes. Both Marta and Alan were in tears.
Daddy Schmern.
But Marta couldn't keep a secret and told her colleague, Jean Lancaster, who became worried, called the Mayo Clinic, and found out that Alan Schmerney was not there. Days later, when he called Marta, she told him about Jean's efforts to him. Then he got really weird on the phone and he said, "Oh, she shouldn't have done that. She should not have done that." The next week, he called with the good news that everything was fine. The doctors at the Mayo Clinic had been wrong again, and he was going on vacation. But Marta Bradley's growing doubts about his emotional stability were finally confirmed by the deviled eggs. Now, these little details just sound like little details, but the shit that's piling up is gonna make sense at the
I
end.
do love me a good double egg.
Don't we all? So a coworker named Kin was renowned for her eggs that she brought to all the holiday parties. That's all I really strive to be, is
There's
like
always that one.
egg
that
girl.
egg bitch. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Eggman. Does
My Aunt
anybody know what
Linda.
I'm referring to? Pink flamingos? No? All right, let's move on.
Oh.
So Alan publicly insisted that his were better, and he organized a taste test. Kim's were plain old deviled eggs, and Alan's were quite elaborate, with the yolk mixture shaped by using a pastry bag, and the egg was topped with caviar. So his egg won. The defeated Kim came into Marta Bradley's office, joking that she would never bring her deviled eggs to the office party again. Marta joked back, "Oh, Kim, please make your eggs again. I thought his were the grossest thing I've ever put in my mouth. Who puts caviar on deviled eggs?"
Yikes.
Yikes, girl, you about to get killed.
Alan didn't talk to Marta for several days when a coworker came to her and said, "Marta, please talk to him. I've never seen him like this. He was practically in tears telling me you didn't like his deviled eggs."
I love that fragile masculinity.
Marta went to his office and he literally had tears running down his face. He was crying and said, "I'm just so upset that you would talk behind my back like that. Your door was wide open and you said such mean and hateful things." Marta replied something professional and polite along the lines of, "I didn't know what the mean and hurtful things were. I didn't mean any offense to them. I just liked her deviled eggs better." Alan took out his handkerchief and wept, and that was when she realized that something was majorly wrong. At Oceanics, each employee got an annual evaluation. This shit is so fucking creepy. Several days later, Alan wrote and left in the mailboxes evaluations for each woman colleague, although he was not their supervisor and he was not supposed to do or leave any sort of evaluation for his fellow employees. So what Marta Bradley found in her mailbox creeped her out beyond belief. Listing her yearly accomplishments, Alan wrote, "Became a good friend to someone who needed it. Shared pain, shared joy. Caught her friend's life with a caring heart. When everything he had found was taken away at an instant. To this day, she has not let it fall and break. Under strengths, he wrote, Marta is intelligent, smart, talented beyond measure, strong, caring, funny, pretty, almost beyond measure, and forever a girl in her heart.
What?
Most exceptional, she does not seem to be willing to give up on people when she holds them as a friend, no matter how hard they try to screw it up. Under her annual goals, he wrote, provide promised picture of self with dogs to reviewer, or else he'll hold his breath until he turns blue, faints, falls, hits his head, and becomes a cabbage.
Help him.
Are you okay, sir?
Help
Clearly not.
him.
Then the evaluation concluded, when she leaves, part of us and me will never be the same. Okay. So Marta was officially freaked after reading this, and after the deviled egg incident, she decided that this was not healthy, and but she was just hoping that it would go away. She shared her concerns with her husband and close colleague, Jean Lancaster, again, who both said she shouldn't be overly worried, and that Alan was just odd and immature. They told her to keep her distance and it'll blow over, but Marta had a growing fear that Alan felt he couldn't live without her. One day in March of 1997, Alan made a big deal about the front right tire of Marta's car being low on air. She ran and checked her 1922 Taurus wagon and told him no, the tires were fairly new, but sometimes they just looked like that. But Alan kept insisting. So later, she had her husband Scott check it out. He found no problem. That Sunday, Marta performed at a classical concert in Baltimore and emerged to find a flat tire. Her front right. A policeman helped her put on a spare, and Scott checked out the flat. Nothing was wrong with it, so he put it back on the car. 2 Sundays later, at another venue in Baltimore, Marta emerged to find the same tire flat again. Again, the tire was filled. It was fine with no air leaking. The next night, Marta and Scott remember their dogs kept barking at something outside the home, and in the morning they found Marta's car tire had a flat, the front right. When Scott returned for the 3rd time to his tire dealer, they told him, there's nothing wrong with the tire. Somebody is letting the air out. The next day at work, she talks about her persistent flat tire, and Alan came running out of his office and said, I bet it was your front right tire. It was your right front, wasn't it? I told you it was going to go flat. Then he came to her and said, I think someone is doing this to you. He insisted that she borrowed and carried his air compressor. Marta said she didn't want the air compressor because at this point she had a feeling that it was him, but he insisted. So to get him to stop talking, she took the air compressor and her tire problem stopped. Would you look at that?
Ugh.
During his emotional travails, Alan's work friend convinced him that he should seek a companionship of a dog. He got a mutt from the Frederick Dog Pound, and I saw you poked your head up.
Yeah, no. Give animals to people like that.
So he got a dog from the pound, and he chose the name Tangle.
Oh, God.
He often asked Marta about her dog, suggesting that they should play together with his. Then in early April of 1997, Marta got an emotional, handwritten 2-page letter from Alan's dog. It was scrawled in childlike writing and signed, Love, Tangle. Are you ready for this?
No.
I'm not going to read the whole note, but this is a little glimpse of it. Dear Marta, I have to make this short because holding this pen is making my paw hurt.
Stop.
My dad has screwed up again, hasn't he? Whatever he's done, it's probably something stupid as usual. It's okay to be really mad at him. I hope you know he loves you too. Even more than he loves me, I think. So there's that.
No, why does
Stop.
Child protective services not exist for animals? Go, someone take
Right,
that dog.
though?
Right? It shouldn't have been holding that pen.
Yeah, rude.
It's going to get carpal tunnel.
That weekend, she returned from home after a trip in Philadelphia.
Woo!
And found her bedroom closet off its runner.
No. Mm-mm.
Psych.
She first thought that the dogs may have done it. Then she realized she was missing much of her lingerie, regular and fancy, clean and dirty, along with a single piece of jewelry, the diamond earrings from Alan Schmerney.
Stop it.
Days later, the Bradleys' 2 dogs, Crystal and Casey, were going crazy, jumping and barking when Marta returned home from a musical performance the night of April 11th, 1997. Crystal, who was normally a quiet greyhound, would not stop yelping, and several of her claws were broken from scratching at something.
What?
It was another break-in. Terrified, Marta Bradley took inventory of her valuables. Nothing was missing except her favorite tourmaline pendant a striking piece that had been admired and complimented upon many times by Alan Chmurney. The Laurel City Police took Bradley's reports and said there was no evidence to charge Alan. A female police officer suggested that Marta was not telling the full story of her relationship with Alan, which made her so angry that Scott Bradley had to handle the rest of the police interview. The next day, Marta told the whole story to the president of Oceanics, David Maniak, who took copies of the Tangle letter and the mock evaluation. As soon as she left Maniac's office, Alan demanded to know what she had been doing in there, but she told him nothing. Days later, Alan followed her home at night. She saw him parked in an alley near the house and called the police, but Alan drove away before they could arrive. The next day at Oceanics, he explained he happened to be in her neighborhood because he was looking to buy a house in Laurel. He claims that he waved to her and asked why she didn't even wave back at him.
Because you a fucking freak.
Right? So then Marta was increasingly frightened by these strange interactions and tried to avoid him altogether. She told him to stay away from her, to which Alan replied, "I don't understand. I do not understand." Bitch, you better get it through your motherfucking head. So she sensed he was almost daring her to accuse him of the burglaries. He kept prodding her for specifics, and she mentioned only that the thief had taken the pair of diamond earrings. Later that day, he came to her office with an appraisal form of the earrings showing their value at more than $3,000 and told her to collect on the insurance. By this time, the Bradleys had replaced all the locks on their rented home with deadbolts. Several days later, they both returned home from music gigs on a Saturday night to find all the locks had been superglued. The message was strange and clear: if I can't get in, neither can you. The next Monday morning, Alan threw an envelope on Marta's desk, handed her a can of mace and pepper spray. He told her that his daughter, the boss lady, had left the sprays at his home and wanted her to have them for protection. In the envelope was $1,000 and a note that said, "Do something to protect your home." Scott Bradley had been keeping his temper in check, but finally decided to call Chmurney. He reached him at Oceanics, and without identifying himself, he said, "Stay away from my house and stay away from my wife." He says he made no other threats. As he recalls, Alan responded, "What are you talking about? I don't know what you're talking about. Who is this?" The next morning, April 24th, 1997, when Marta encountered him in the hallway, Alan looked flushed and shaky. He handed her a stuffed manila envelope that was torn open. He said, "Here, this appeared in my mailbox this morning. I guess these things belong to you." And inside were 3 of her bras and a sheet of cardboard with pieces of tape that held her stolen diamond earrings and the pendant. On the cardboard were cut out newspaper headline letters that spelled out, "I'm not through with you."
No.
Does this not sound like a piece of fiction? Like, this deadass is something that happened.
I cannot.
So, she immediately called the police. Alan Chmurney was arrested and the following week charged with 13 counts, including first-degree burglary, theft, and harassment. He was placed on leave for several weeks and later fired by Oceanics. In his final hours there, Alan made several trips to the paper shredder. Worried, the Oceanics president, David Maniak, and his wife had painstakingly pieced together the shredded papers. With fear, they shared what they found with Marta Bradley and the police. Y'all ready for this?
No.
One page had a disjointed list of things he wanted to tell Marta, including, "You were the first female friend I ever really had, and were becoming one of my best friends I ever had. Was it wrong to love you for that and to tell you so?" And finally writing, "We won't ever be friends again. You have been too willing to believe that everything bad that has gone on has been my responsibility. Someday you'll know that you're wrong, and that's too bad for you and me." The arrest, they thought, could bring an end to the nightmare. Bitch, guess what? It didn't.
Oh.
By this point, Marta and Scott Bradley's life had been so disrupted that they had to postpone talk about having a kid. They'd set up a motion detector and a video camera to record movements outside of their home. Again, remember, this is the late 90s. And they were in fear of what Alan might try to do next. They eventually moved into a new home and had their mailbox routed to a postal box and had a screening device on their telephone. How fucking shitty is that this
that
fucking
sucks.
man?
Right.
So the Bradleys' life had actually become peaceful for several weeks. Then they started getting hang-up phone calls at various hours. Then Marta found flowers in a plastic cup on the hood of her car after a concert in Fairfax. Several days later, flowers were left overnight at her desk at work. Alan Schmerney had been banned from the premises of Oceanics, but nobody realized until later that someone had made at least 6 unauthorized entries to the firm after midnight by using Jean Lancaster's computer access code. Days later, the side of Marta's car was badly scratched up by a car key, and carved into the driver's side window were the words, "I love you." Whoever etched it in the window printed it backwards so that Marta could read them from the driver's seat. Then her windshield was smashed with a rock. Then she got a package delivered at work with an unusual pen that she had once remarked that she liked. An identical package arrived addressed to Alan Schmerney. Then more flowers on her car, and more. The Bradleys reported all of this to the authorities, but they were told that there was no way to prove who did it. So on February 7th, 1998, Marta Bradley was performing at a group of concerts in Baltimore. So during a pause, she heard someone walking backstage. She heard the jingling of keys and at first thought it might be a janitor. Then her heart sank as she remembered she'd left her keys to her home and her car in her coat. When the performance ended, she ran backstage and her keys were gone.
I definitely would have got up and been like, I gotta go.
She was in the middle of playing a bass though, in the middle of a huge concert at Baltimore.
Peace out, guys. Someone has my keys.
You're right. I would do that too.
This makes me horrified to meet new people.
Right?
I'm saying you never know
that.
who people are or whatever.
One second she's playing the Flight of the Bumblebee, next minute, shit. So several days later, the Bradleys got a call from a woman who worked at the concert hall telling them that someone had returned the keys. Oh. So Scott Bradley brought with him a photograph of Alan Schmerney. Obviously, they were suspicious of the man who had stolen them, returned the keys. And when he went to go pick them up, the woman said it was the man who dropped off the keys in the photograph. So under a plea agreement worked out by his lawyer, Alan Schmerney admitted no guilt on the charge of harassment to Marta Bradley, but acknowledged that the state did have enough evidence to convict him. The criminal charges against him would be dismissed if he complied with the order to leave Marta Bradley alone. With the court order in place, Scott and Marta Bradley felt a little more comfortable, and once again, they entertained the thought of having a child. In November 1998, Marta Bradley was playing a series of performances at Baltimore's Lyric Opera House and noticed on 3 separate evenings that her rear window of her Taurus had been unlatched. On the night of November 18th, Scott Bradley and a friend decided to stake out Marta's car while she was playing. If Alan showed up, he would be violating terms of his probation and subject to a 90-day jail term. So this is kind of what they were hoping for. They were like, I hope this man doesn't fuck with her, but I hope he does tonight so we can get him in jail for at least 90 days.
I feel like that man is so beyond everyone. It's not going to happen.
Well, after 2 hours of watching from another car, they spotted him. Oh. As friends dialed 911 to the police, Scott Bradley approached Alan at the side of Marta's car. Bradley started yelling at him, "You've been told to stay away from my wife. What are you doing here? She doesn't want anything to do with you." And that's when Alan fucking slugged him.
He punched him?
Yeah.
What the fuck?
He didn't see it coming at all. It pretty much jacked Scott's jaw. And he got some good shots too. Alan's face was bruised, and the two men wrestled. And in the process, Scott saw that Alan had something dangling from his belt. It was a pair of handcuffs. Bradley tried to wrestle him to the ground and mace him, but Alan ran off before the Baltimore police came. Since the police had not witnessed the incident, they could not charge Alan, but Marta Bradley filed additional charges against him the next day. At their trial in Baltimore, the Bradleys were astonished when Alan claimed that he had been invited by Marta to meet her at the opera.
Where's the proof?
Alan even had a letter to prove it. He showed a typed letter that began, "Dearest Alan," something Marta would never say, and went on to say that the Bradleys had just learned another musician's home had been burglarized, and they were basically just placing the blame on Alan. And in this letter, that apparently is written by Marta, it says, "I hate myself for ever thinking it was you, someone I loved, who I was so sure loved me," the letter said, "to show her regret and to show you how much we trust you." The letter then said Marta was giving her house and car keys to Alan and inviting him to enter the home in their absence.
No.
So he then said that they would meet outside of the concert hall, and it says, "I have missed you so much. My life has not been the same without you, and I still love you." And then the lone handwritten word, the only handwritten word on this paper was her name, Marta, which was fairly accurate of her signature, which the Bradleys then assume he had been practicing, like tracing on another piece of paper. So on March 22nd, 1999, Alan Schmerney was found not guilty of assault and harassment. On the morning of April 5th, Marta was pulling onto Route 100 on her way to Oceanics, and she flinched, as always, when she spotted a beige Accord, which was his car, and this one in particular was Alan Schmerney. His car came up alongside hers when she entered the highway. She grabbed her cell phone to call 911, but it wasn't working. Again, this was the late 90s. She slowed her car. She pulled to the right. He would pretty much do the fucking same. Every time she slowed, he slowed. He stared at her in the rearview mirror, and by the time Marta got to Oceanics, she was shaking in fear. A coworker suggested that if Alan Schmerney had her car keys, he could have planted a tracking device in her Taurus. So they went outside and they were searching for something. The air compressor was in her car. Remember the one that Alan had given to her when her right tire was continuously flattened and then it mysteriously stopped when she took it in her car? Well, they also found tucked into the crevice of a rear seat, they found several colored electrical wires along with a handwritten note on Fairfax Symphony stationery. The note said, "Marta, I made the pipe bomb packages you asked for. They're all deadly once you connect the batteries. The one with the motion sensor is very tricky. You have to turn on the timer before plugging it in or it will go off immediately. I showed all of this stuff to Scott too. Please be careful with this shit. I love you."
No, he is psychotic.
So the police evacuated Oceanics and searched the car. They took the note, but later told the Bradleys once again they did not have enough evidence to charge Alan Schmerney.
No way.
Schmerney, honey.
So by the time Alan Schmerney had stalked Marta in 5 different jurisdictions, okay, wait. Okay, so this is kind of summing up why these people didn't have enough things, because remember they were traveling around.
Okay.
They didn't really have much communication between the 5 different jurisdictions that they tried to file this shit with, and you had to file it within the boundary of the county that the incident had taken place in. So on July 16th, 1999, Alan Schmerney went to the Frederick County Commissioner's office and swore on a handwritten 3-page criminal complaint accusing the Bradleys of telephone harassment and repeated threats of violence. This story keeps getting crazier and crazier. To support this, Alan tried to introduce the evidence in the Dearest Alan letter. They didn't really want anything to do with it. So now he tried to use it as proof. He also produced his telephone caller ID records, which showed more than a dozen calls of obscenities had come from the Bradleys' phone to his home between 1 a.m. to 4 a.m. over a period of weeks. He said both Marta and Scott had been harassing him and threatening him, and he said that they would blow me away with my wife, my dog, my property, and that we should think about every time we turn the ignition in any car of ours. So he's flipping the script on this bitch.
He's been doing that.
Sure has. So the case was assigned to this girl named Kristen Daggett. She was an assistant state attorney for Fredericks who recalls preferring to conduct her interviews with Alan Schmerney over the phone rather than in person. She said she was intimidated by him because something was just not right. She said Alan Schmerney was very adamant about his positions, that they were harassing him. He seemed like he really believed it just by the way he was talking. So after she contacted the Bradleys and their lawyer, Daggett received a copy of the voluminous file outlining the entire strange history. She said it was like a murder mystery novel. I took it home. It was pages and pages. I couldn't put it down. She became convinced that Alan Schmerney had fabricated the evidence, including the caller ID. So the alleged late-night telephone threats had been coming from toll calls from Laurel to Fredericks on the Bradleys' phone bill, but the Bradleys' phone records didn't say anything about this shit. So an investigation by the phone company suggested that the calls were actually being made by someone else using an extension phone from the phone box outside of their fucking house.
Love that.
So he was outside of their house calling his phone with their phone line.
What
Just so he would have it on file, so he could bring it to court and be like, hey, look, they're doing this, not me.
Okay, this man is a freak.
So Daggett says she was creeped out And obviously, she decided to drop the charges. The Bradleys, by now, had moved to a new home in Howard County, and they hoped it would be harder for Alan to find them. They celebrated the birth of their daughter in September of 1999, and were finally able to, chill and relax. There was no sign of Alan Schmerney until the 5th month.
No.
On April 16th, 2000, Marta Bradley went to her car to retrieve documents she needed for her last-minute income tax filing. On the front seat of her car, she saw a scattering of tiny silver balls she initially thought were sprinkles from a cake decoration. But when she touched them, they seemed to disintegrate. Then she saw traces of the substance near the car's air vents and on the floor. She called Oceanics and the police. Mercury liquid. It is toxic, but not necessarily lethal. In a vapor state, however, it is odorless, colorless, and deadly, entering the lungs, lodging in the bloodstream, gradually accumulating in the internal organs. Vaporized in a car's heating system, it would attack the liver and kidneys and eventually cause delirium, memory loss, hallucinations, and ultimately death.
Oh my God.
The level found in Marta Bradley's car was measured by the Maryland Department of Environment at 400 times. A dose considered remotely safe for human beings.
What?
Periodically, Scott Bradley would fast forward through the 8-hour videotapes, hoping for a glimpse of Alan Schmerney's nighttime prowling. The Bradleys also alerted their neighbors that if they saw someone outside, let them know. Mind you, they moved. This is at a different place years later.
Yeah, 3 times.
So, May 31st, 2000, someone saw him. A 21-year-old neighbor was driving home just past 2 a.m. when they spotted someone tampering with Marta's call. They called the police, walked over to meet the police at Bradley's. Marta and Scott were awakened when the motion detector triggered the blaring radio, and they were ecstatic. Sure enough, at 1:50 a.m., the night vision videotape captured a grainy illuminated image of a tall, slender man wearing a light jacket and baseball cap lurking near the car. When Scott hurriedly fast-forwarded through the previous night's tapes, the man also appeared 2:23 a.m. on May 30th, 1:48 a.m. May 29th, 2:49 a.m. May 26th. The images were dark and blurry, but they were positive that it was Alan. The police created a photo lineup with 6 other white males in their late 50s, all kind of who looked like Alan, and they were showed to the Bradleys' 21-year-old neighbor, who picked number 4 as the man she saw. Well, come on down, number 4, it's your lucky day. It was Alan Schmerney. 2 days later, the police arrested him. They found his writings in his cluttered basement inside a black satchel that prosecutors later called his stalking bag. One page held a 700-word explicit ode to Marta that began, "Here's a riddle for you. What's the difference between Marta Bradley and a female bass player that's going to be raped, castrated, have her face mutilated, and then all of her fingers on both hands cut off?"
Stop.
Answer, there is no difference.
What?
The riddle letter went on to graphic descriptions of his break into her room, his fantasies about her body parts, and his violent sexual threats. Alan Schmerney also had photographs of Marta Bradley, typewritten schedules of her work hours and musical appearances, printouts of her emails, and internet search maps of her home, although Alan Schmerney told police he didn't even know where she lived. Police also found 8 duplicate keys that fit the Bradleys' former home and their 2 cars, along with lock-picking tools. They retrieved a plastic bag that held Bradley's old ATM receipts and locks of her hair. Marta had cut her own hair at home and she threw them in the trash. They also found a jacket and baseball cap that appeared to match those of the man in the night vision videotapes. And there were 2 sheets of paper with large computer printings, "You don't have long, you are dead." In Schmerney's car, they found what they would call the smoking gun. It was a plastic bottle labeled mercury waste that still had mercury in it.
But there's not enough evidence.
While the search warrant was being executed, investigators seized the chance to talk to Alan Schmerney's wife, Gwen. So again, remember, while this shit's happening, he's still married to this woman named Gwen, who's 64 years old. He has a daughter in her late 20s who's the same age as Marta, who's actually the boss lady. So Gwen immediately insisted that her husband was being framed, saying the Bradleys are telling lies. Then investigators asked, how could you explain The facts that credit card records obtained by police showed many late-night stalkings happened to occur during periods when Gwen was away on out-of-state trips. She maintained that the Bradleys had staged the stalking incidents. They, planted the mercury in their own car and in Alan's car and all this shit. What were they getting out of it? Just a question. What would the Bradleys have gotten out of this? Not money.
Literally nothing.
They would have just gotten him to stay the
Right?
fuck away from him. Stay the fuck away from them, rather. So at the trial, the jury stayed out for more than 4 hours, talking, examining evidence, and repeatedly viewing the night vision videotapes. Finally, just after 5 p.m. on September 12th, the jury filed back into the courtroom, and as Alan Schmerney stood in his dark gray suit and Halston tie to face them, the verdict was delivered. Guilty of 5 of 6 counts. Alan Schmerney, his impassive expression did not change. The jury were then polled individually and asked if they agreed. Alan then opened his briefcase and took something out of it.
Nope. Stop.
As the jury began to file out, Alan swiveled in his chair, spoke to his wife and daughter in the front row. "Goodbye. I love you," he said, and muttered something about how it would be okay. His defense lawyer thought it was odd that he was saying goodbye because they were not necessarily going to jail him immediately. Then Alan Schmerney took a paper cup with water in it and swallowed something. When asked what it was, he said a tranquilizer. His defense lawyer told him that the judge would set a date for sentencing and they would try to have him remain free on bond until then. "Thank you," Alan said, shaking his head, then added, "I'm dead. It was cyanide." The lawyer immediately asked the judge if he could approach the bench and whispered, "My client has indicated that he just took a cyanide pill." The judge ordered the sheriffs to get Alan Schmerney out of the courtroom and called 911. Then Alan's face turned red, his eyes rolled up into his head, and he went into convulsions. The doctors were able to keep Alan Schmerney alive for 18 hours, but there was no way to reverse the damage of oxygen deprivation to his brain. He was declared dead at 1:55 the following afternoon. How crazy was
That's
that fucking
fucked up.
story?
Okay, what?
Okay, so that was the fucking story of Adriana's boss's father.
Okay, so she was seeing him where she was working.
Yes,
Wait,
so
the ghost of Alan Schmerney.
hang on, let me finish reading her words. She closes her email by saying, "At first, I thought my friends were messing with me. Later, I decided to do some research online, and there he was. It was like deja vu, the man I had been seeing for months now. Later that day, I did a blessing for his soul to find peace and asked him to stay away from me and that he was really creeping me out and I did not want to see him. And I definitely didn't want to tell my boss what I was seeing. And I never saw him again.
Yes.
Still to this day, I have not told my old boss anything about it." Well, I hope your old boss doesn't listen to this podcast because I think I just blew the lid off of that one. Well, shit.
Thanks for sharing. That was amazing.
It was amazing. She has one more really short ghost story.
Okay, go.
So she says, "But wait, there's more. Flashback to a few months before this, me and my boyfriend at the time were living in our apartment in the same town. We got a little one-bedroom apartment unit on the top floor. My boyfriend at the time worked at a golf course a few towns over, so he would have to wake up insanely early to go to work. This morning, I decided to get up with him to make breakfast. He left for work. Instead of going back to bed, I decided to lay on the sofa in the living room and watch TV. Well, I ended up passing out. I can't remember what I was dreaming about, but I remember waking up to this ting-ting noise, almost like a clinking glass. I opened my eyes to see a little boy standing in front of me.
Nope, run.
He had blonde hair and a blue shirt on. I rubbed my eyes in disbelief. Then he darted behind the side of the sofa and down the hall to the bathroom. When I turned to look down the hall, he was gone. I was so shook. I shot up off the sofa, knocked my leftover breakfast off the coffee table, and ran to the front door, called my boyfriend to come home. After my initial freakout, I went back into the house. A few months later, my boyfriend saw the same little boy when I was asleep on the sofa. He woke up to the little boy standing in front of the door, just standing there, looking at him. He woke me up screaming that the little boy was watching him sleep. We saged the apartment and never saw the little boy again. Well, shit, Adriana. Thank you
this
for
girl sees
fucking
a lot of ghostesses.
sharing. Holy shit. How crazy was that Alan story,
That's
though?
Alan
How
Schmerney. I can't get over his last name.
How nuts was that? Nuts butts.
It was nuts to you.
Well, I think Trashy's got a story for us. Take it away, Trash.
Yes. So my older sister, so this is also out in the Midwest. She's in Utah.
Okay.
She works for a large hotel corporation and, well, I should say
The Tipton Hotel.
worked. And so for a little while, she had been considering quitting her job. She was the activities manager there, and even on her days off, she would get phone calls like, ooh, someone pooped in the pool. And she'd be like, well, great, I can't handle that. So she just really was not enjoying her job. But
what? She doesn't like heading on down to the pool on a Saturday morning,
scooping
out the poop while you're hungover.
No way.
It's one of my favorite activities.
So she actually, part of her job was to kind of entertain the children that were staying in the hotel, because it was more of like a vacation club, like a resort, than it was like a hotel.
Okay, so it wasn't no Holiday Inn Express.
It was a resort.
Yeah, a resort. And so she had done this night where it was like kids night in. So basically the kids would stay with her and they would do like fun activities and stuff, while their parents or people that they were staying with would like be able to have the night off and like go to dinner or like go out to a bar,
right?
Adult things, And so one night, 3 kids had signed up. 2 of them ended up canceling, and then one of them showed up with his grandmother. So this little boy, his name was Vinny, and he showed up, and as soon as he got there, Rachel, my sister, was like, shit, okay, I like hope he doesn't stay. I have a lot of work to do. I don't want to just sit and like babysit this one kid.
Right.
And so his grandmother was like, are you sure you want to stay? Like, you can just come to dinner with us. It'll be fine. And Vinny, like, looked at my sister and was like, is it just going to be us? And Rachel was like, yeah. And he was like, I'll stay then.
Oh, Vinny wants
Excellent.
to stay.
Thanks,
Yes.
Vinny.
Excellent.
So he stayed, and they actually ended up having, like, a really fun night. And
What did they do?
they just, like, finger paint and, like, do, like, kids
I want to
stuff.
finger paint.
Right.
Yes.
Oh my god,
Like,
yeah.
make slime and,
Oh,
like,
cool.
yeah, they, like, do stuff like that.
I literally do that now.
Yes.
You're right, and I'm 26.
Hey.
It's fine.
So Vinny and Rachel ended up having this conversation where Vinny talked about how he is a shapeshifter. So Rachel was like, oh, what do you mean? Like, you're a child. Okay, great. And he basically was saying, like, oh, I turn into a saber-toothed tiger at night and I protect my family.
He's a fucking
watch over-
skinwalker.
Mm-hmm.
Ew, oh my god, he's a fucking reptilian.
Wait, hold on. How old is he?
Vinny's got to be like 6 or 7.
Oh my god,
Oh,
continue. I want to hear the saber tooth.
So he's not like a toddler. He's like a
Right.
child. And he was like, so I'm a saber-toothed tiger. I watch over my family at night. Like, I look over them. And he was like, but my mom is also a shapeshifter, and she is a saber-toothed tiger too. And so Rachel was like, haha, cool.
Right, because kids say things. and-
Children.
yeah.
Yeah. So then Vinny's grandmother came to pick him up, and Vinny's grandmother was like, oh, how was it? And Rachel was like, oh, it was great. Like, we had a good conversation. She goes, oh, like, what'd you guys talk about? And Rachel was like, he told me he's a shapeshifter. And, like, dead ass, like, straight face, his grandmother was like, oh, like, yeah, him and his mom,
Yeah.
they're both saber-toothed tigers. Like, they're shapeshifters. Like,
Oh,
was,
love
like,
that.
totally nonchalant and, like, casual
Yeah.
about this.
Okay, fantastic.
Yes. So as Vinny's leaving, he looks to Rachel. Now, mind you, Rachel did not tell anyone that she was thinking about quitting her job. Obviously, her family knew, and like her boyfriend who works for the company but at a different hotel.
Right.
But she didn't say anything to anyone that she works with, no one at the like resort, nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And Vinny looks
So
at her
sweet.
and he goes, Rachel, I can see people's insides, and you have good insides, and you need to go. Like, it's time for you to go.
He knew.
No.
knew.
No.
Ew.
It's like one of those weird things, like when your family member is passing and
That's
you're
true.
like,
Or when you need answers.
when you're like, I'm going to be okay. Like, it's okay for you to go. And then your 90-year-old grandfather dies.
Right.
No, this is like a 7-year-old being like, I see your insides. They're good.
you should
should
do
go.
that thing you're contemplating.
That no
Yeah,
one knows
literally.
about, but I
Right.
know about it.
Because I'm a
I-
shapeshifter and a saber-toothed
Yes.
tiger and a 7-year-old boy all rolled into one.
He's a
Exactly.
skinwalker.
Ew, I hate that you said that. It
Exactly.
makes it sound super creepy.
Yeah,
is
that's what they
creepy.
are.
I
Skinwalkers are like
never heard that term.
I think they're like I used to read about them on Creepypasta. They're like
Creepypasta.
yeah, Native American folklore
Yeah.
of like people who
Shape-shifting.
shapeshift and they can imitate kind of in the way that like Ditto in the Pokemon does, where he can shapeshift into like Pikachu, but there's still something off. Like the
Yeah.
eyes are still beady, so
Okay.
you can tell
Oh
that something's
my God.
off.
Right,
But
right.
sometimes you can't put your finger on it. So it's people who can shapeshift into other people, sound like other people, as well as animals such as saber-toothed tigers.
Such as
Oh my
Vinny.
God. So it gets weird.
Okay, there's more.
It gets weirder. So after that night, Rachel was telling her friends that she works with, she was like talking about Vinny and being like, oh, like,
Did she tell them that she was gonna quit?
no, no one knew. No one knows, like, whatever. So then she was talking about, she was like, yeah, I had kids night in with this, like, really cool kid, and starts talking about how he's a shapeshifter. And everyone was like,
Are you
a
good?
fucking idiot. Like,
Right.
what are you talking about? And Rachel was like, no, like, I promise you, like, he says that he's a shapeshifter, and I believe it. And so then later in that week, Vinny was walking into the pool, and Rachel was walking out, and she was like, oh my God, hey, and, like, was talking to him, whatever. And then she went to grab, no lie, 10 minutes later, went to grab her friend to introduce her to Vinny. Went back, Vinny's gone.
Gone. No.
Yeah.
Done. No
Oh
one's
my
gone.
God.
So 4 other times that week, Rachel ran into Vinny, tried to introduce him to other people,
Nobody.
and no one ever saw
Because
him.
he's a shapeshifter.
So no one ever saw Vinny this entire week. The whole week, Rachel's talking about this kid. Rachel's talking about Vinny. Rachel's talking about, like, oh, Vinny at the pool, Vinny in the activity center, Vinny in the lobby. No one sees Vinny.
That's so nuts.
No one.
Maybe he was a ghost, not a shapeshifter.
I don't
True.
know. So at the end of the week, Rachel's at the front desk talking to somebody about something, whatever, and she hears the room number that's checking out, and it's Vinny's room number. So she turns around, and it's a woman and a man standing there, and she was like, oh, it must be Vinny's parents. Like, I'm gonna say, like, oh, it was really great getting to know your son, and your, like, mother-in-law, whatever, is super nice as well, blah, blah, blah. Turns around, talks to this family, whatever. They have no idea who she's talking about.
I cannot.
He never checked into
Rerun the videos.
He never
Yeah.
checked into the.
So this family was like, we don't have a son. Okay, we're just here on vacation.
Oh my
Leave
God.
us alone now. So Rachel just was like, all of her friends were like, maybe you heard the room number wrong. But to sign into any of the buildings, you have to have room keys. To get into any of the buildings, you have to have a room key.
Oh
To
my God.
sign into, like, Kids Night In or to, like, charge anything
need
like
a
that,
room
you
key.
need a room number and a room key. And so I don't know.
Well, did she check the system? I would have been
I would've
on
been like,
that
cameras,
shit.
cameras.
No,
I need
don't.
cameras.
I haven't talked to her about it after that because as soon as she started telling the story, I was like, ooh,
I'm creeped out.
yes,
Ah,
I know.
Skinwalker Hotel.
So now we don't know where Vinny is. We don't know who Vinny is. But my sister did quit her job and she road tripped for home for 3
Fucking
weeks.
tear it up. Thank you,
Brought
Vinny.
her dog and she is happier than ever and it is great. But she has good insides and Vinny could see them. But no one else
Damn.
could see Vinny. So
That's crazy. Maybe she just needed that push to make the decision.
that's what I
I
was
really
saying.
think things come to you when you like need the most. Like I feel
Yeah.
like you have to be a certain type of person. Like I feel like this happens a lot with Kiko, a lot of like coincidental shit. And I feel
Yeah.
like when you need answers, like things come to you and you just have to go with it.
Yeah.
Like a saber-toothed tiger.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly. Or a shapeshifter, skin
Walker.
bleacher, whatever.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. So there we are.
Wow. Well, thanks for sharing your creepy
Thanks
story.
for coming to Creepypasta.
We've got some questions for you. And this
Oh wait, I
time...
need to pull them up.
Okay. Sarah's going to pull them up. But we've got some questions for you. But this time, so Sarah and I have been asking all of our guests this month
Okay.
these questions. But we've answered like one or two here or there. So, but we're going to answer the questions after you.
Okay.
Have you ever played with a Ouija board?
Yes.
How did it go?
I think it was uneventful.
Do you think, did it like move? Did the planchette move?
No.
Oh, okay. So I would say that's uneventful.
Yeah.
I'm going to go ahead and answer the obvious question. Yes, I've played with a Ouija board. I've done it most of the times I've done it. I think it was the people who I was with were fucking with me, but I have had really weird instances happen to me. But yes,
You would.
I am open to the Ouija board.
I played with it a couple times and nothing happened to me, but I did hear stories of other people.
Okay, so next question is, are you superstitious?
Like step on a crack and break your mother's back superstitious?
Yes.
Yeah, I guess. Because I won't like open umbrellas inside or walk under ladders.
So I guess you can open an umbrella inside if you're like a photographer and use lights, right? Because I open an umbrella
I
inside
just-
almost every day at the studio.
I just assume
Well,
like
that would explain why.
rain umbrellas.
Oh, that's so funny. What about you, Sarah?
Yes, I would never walk under a ladder or split the pole.
What split the
That's
pole?
yeah, that's something that I didn't know about
Oh, is that
until
when you're
recently.
holding
yeah, and you
hands?
split the pole. It's like
So I wouldn't say I'm hella superstitious, but I would say that like that I don't want to find out because it's all
Yeah.
bad things. So I would say I'm like
You don't wanna fuck
cautious,
with
kind
it,
of.
really.
you're in a horror movie. Are you the final girl, the first to die, the comedic relief, the skeptic, the smart one, or the killer?
Oh god.
All right, wait. Why don't I kind of want to
Wait,
guess?
why can't you guys tell me what you think I am?
Well,
Okay,
that's what
I was
we're
just gonna
do.
say that.
Yeah.
Do you want to go first?
I high key think you're the final girl.
Ooh.
Wow.
I think,
Yes.
first of all, I think that Trish could fuck shit up if she really had to. Like, I wouldn't
Oh,
want to
for
get
sure.
into a fight with her.
I've seen her do it.
Really?
No,
Oh.
I've seen her fuck shit up though with a 40
Ooh.
and some Bacardi.
Ooh.
Right. So, and I think she's like a super, like, life smart. I think
Love a
she's-
life
Oh, I
smart
love
bitch.
that. I do love
I think
that.
she'd be the final girl.
Okay, wow.
I think she'll put up a good fight to stay alive.
Yes.
I
I agree.
I was gonna say I think you're the smart one.
Ooh.
I don't know if you would be
Last alive.
the final girl, and I think you would be the calm one too.
Okay.
What do you
We
think
love
you would
this.
be?
I think I would be either the smart one or the final
Final girl?
I
Oh, I
love
love
that.
that.
Yeah.
Okay, and then for Sarah, we already talked about this briefly, but for Sarah,
They already know. Okay.
I said I thought she would either be the comic relief or the first to die,
I was
or
gonna
both.
say both of those things.
Why? I'm vapid.
Well, you're small.
Yeah.
Like, yeah,
well,
that
she
means
could
you can
hide places.
hide.
That's what she
Yeah,
made. She made a
okay,
valid
okay.
point.
like,
Okay.
you know those two cabinets above the stove that no one can fit into?
You can fit in there.
What's up, y'all? I'm going in there.
Does nobody try microwaving popcorn? That shit's going to light your
Right?
ass on fire.
Okay.
What do you think you are? You think you're the comic relief? You could be. I
Yeah.
agree with that.
No, I'm the killer. I'm
What?
just kidding.
I was gonna say no. You
I'm
could
the
not.
comedic relief.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Wait, what are all of the options? Because what are you?
We have final girl, first to die, comic relief, skeptic, smart one, or killer.
Jonathan is the
Bitch,
skeptic.
you're either no. Jonathan is not skeptic.
No, skeptic in a way like he'd be like, no, there's like something more to this. Like something more is going on to like figure out what the actual, like what's actually going on. Yeah?
Maybe.
I don't know. I
Is
think
that what you meant
Jonathan's
by
either.
skeptic?
Well, I think
TBH
the skeptic in the movie would be the person who doesn't believe there's a killer.
Yeah, that's what
Oh.
I'm thinking.
JK.
So Jonathan's either the killer, sorry,
Yeah, for real.
or comic relief, because Kara's first to die.
Yep. Because I opened that door one time for the pizza man.
you
In your underwear, just being like,
you
"Here."
invited him in. You said, "How do you know Jonathan?" I think I would probably be the comic relief.
Yeah.
I would not be the final girl at all. I think, in fact, I might be the one to die immediately after Sarah if you're the first to go.
Oh,
Or
great.
we would be the comedy duo that gets killed at the same time.
That's true.
Oh, that's a good call.
Yeah.
Like something straight through both of your heads at the
Oh,
same time.
there you go.
Oh, like a saw.
Or something that like pins you both together.
Aww.
That would be
You guys
true.
are, yeah.
Cute.
Okay.
Oh my
Here
god,
we
we're
are.
touching hands.
And then I'm the final girl, just seeing all
And-
my
He
friends
said he
dead.
didn't want to touch my hands. He was like,
Okay, so you are given the death penalty. What would your last meal be?
Oh, fuck. Okay, so backstory, I'm a vegetarian, so I don't eat meat.
Okay,
But
but,
my final meal would be chicken cordon bleu.
I've never
Oh,
had chicken
if-
Corbin Bleu.
It's so good.
what is it?
It's
Is it
just
that
like
one with the
breaded
broccoli
chicken.
Stuck in
No,
there?
it's just like breaded chicken, literally with like butter flowing out of it when you cut it.
Oh, cordon bleu. Cordon butter.
cordon butter.
And I think you talked about yours, but give it to us again.
What my?
You
What
said
is
the
it?
seafood platter, right?
Oh, I definitely would. Or my grandmother's Lebanese food.
Yes, lesbian food. Love it. Got to keep your lesbians healthy.
Okay.
I don't really,
Okay.
I don't really know what mine would be. I think I would get
Wow.
like a
Yeah,
couple
yours would
things.
Maybe
Yeah.
mac and cheese.
No, I never eat mac and cheese. I eat Wawa mac and cheese sometimes on the occasional, or the frozen mac and cheese.
You literally threw a fit
That-
that
that
Giant didn't have your
the
fucking
freaking
SpongeBob mac and cheese.
Yeah, because they had the frozen mac and cheese. I don't want fucking Olaf. Anyway,
Aloof.
so I would probably do like crab rangoon. Is really good Chinese food.
True.
Maybe
I
like
farted.
Perfect. Ooh, I also love
It smells.
Indian food.
Evacuate.
oh, I love Indian
Sorry,
food too.
I could do a good like paneer tikka masala or something.
Yeah.
Or
Yes.
sushi. Now we're just naming things we want right now. No,
Yep.
it has to be. This is your last meal.
Okay, my last meal is paneer tikka masala, basmati rice, and chicken cordon bleu.
Okay, you can have that. We can make it
Perfect.
happen. Yours is all that stuff, and you can have both of them. Why the
Indian
fuck not?
food.
Yeah.
What? You can't change it up
Chicken
now.
tikka masala. I want that all. If I'm gonna die, I might as well die on a full ass stomach. Doesn't matter if I'm
Is
fat
that a real
anymore. I'm
thing?
dying.
If you're on death row, if you're dying, if you're
Yeah.
being killed
Yeah.
by firing squad,
Yeah.
you get whatever you want.
Yeah.
Perfect. Make it happen.
I think I would get that. I would get my little crab rangoon. I would get maybe pizza.
Ooh,
Love
Domino's.
pizza.
Sarah
Domino's
earlier
is
told me that. She
trash.
told me Domino's is for poor people, and I said,
Domino's
I
isn't
am
good,
poor.
though.
I love Domino's pan pizza, pineapple, and banana peppers.
People are unsubscribing right now because you said pineapple. Also, okay,
Pineapple
really
and
quick.
pizza's a thing.
Right?
I hate all of you.
Wait, really quick. I like pineapple pizza. I used it from Domino's. I used to get you get 2 medium pizzas for $5.99. Hey,
Yep.
what's up, Domino's? Please sponsor us. And I would get
Please.
hot sauce
But
and
Domino's
pineapple.
is trash.
But
Yes.
I want to be sponsored, bitch.
Yeah, but pineapple is trash.
okay, so
belongs on pizza.
everybody yells that pineapple doesn't belong on pizza.
It does. It makes
How
it
do you- I
sweet
know,
and
I like it.
spicy
Okay, and
and
I-
salty.
All of a sudden, maybe like 2 years ago, maybe I just was oblivious to this, but everybody's hating candy corn.
I do hate candy corn.
I hate candy corn.
I love candy corn. It gives me
Yesterday-
a headache, but I like it
Right?
Why does it
It's
give you a headache?
because it's straight sugar.
Yesterday, and I was like, I told her I had kettle corn, and she thought it was candy corn. And we were,
Oh, disappointment.
and then we were rating all the holiday candy, and she was like, "I'll eat a peep, but peeps are gross.
Yeah, they are gross.
Peeps are good,
Peeps are
Peeps are
good.
gnarly.
Okay.
but like they have to be
All right,
kind of
next
stale."
question.
Yeah, we gotta get to the next
Sorry.
question.
I'm it.
Okay, go ahead.
Which urban legend scares you the most, or scared you the most as a child?
Ooh, Bloody Mary.
I was gonna say Bloody Mary for me too.
Bloody Mary.
Bloody
That
Mary
shit
for
freaked
me.
me out. I was in the
I used to get
bathroom.
anxiety.
The bathroom of my neighbor's house. We would stand in the bathroom in her fucking basement and be like, Bloody Mary, Bloody Mary, Bloody Mary. And I hated it. I just wanted to run.
Yeah, it gives you like anxiety.
No, I'm
Yes.
telling you, because I would think that like it would be one of those things where like she would duke me out, like she would show up
Yeah.
when I was alone, and
Yeah.
I'd be like, "Oh well, fuck."
Yep.
I'm
I
trying
hate
to
it.
straight up be on like a Neutrogena commercial, like splashing your face. You look up and she's standing behind you with a shank. All right. Wait, was that yours too, Sarah?
Yeah.
Okay. Decent. Okay, so what was your favorite Halloween costume growing up?
Ooh, like that I wore.
Yeah.
I was an M&M when I was like 3.
That
Were
is
you the green
hilarious.
M&M?
No, I was blue.
Oh, cute.
I thought it'd be yellow.
Yellow was one of my favorite colors. I also, when I like thought I was like into college, I wore my like prom dress for a couple costumes a little bit.
What were
sometimes.
you?
A butterfly at one point, and then at one
Bitch.
point I was like a weird dead something.
Okay.
I don't know. I wore like black stockings, but my prom dress was short,
Oh,
And-
so it was cute.
rhinestoney.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I love rhinestones. Okay, what was yours, Sarah?
I was Winnie the Pooh one time, and the costume was really comfortable, so I'm gonna go with that.
Oh,
One time.
that's cute. I love comfortable costumes.
I'm saying
It was probably the worst Halloween of my life, the one that we had at our house, but my costume was comfortable. I was Donnie Darko on Halloween, so if you watch the movie, he's like a skeleton, but he wears like a skeleton hoodie,
Yeah.
and people got it. They were like, oh, Donnie Darko, and I was like,
I
wow.
love that.
So I was just like comfy as shit. Awful fucking night. Don't date
I there for that?
psychopaths.
Disclaimer:
No.
Taylor got stuck in that Winnie the Pooh outfit one time because she tried it on.
In that one?
Oh yeah.
Oh, I want a video of that.
I don't. It was
Okay. Sarah, I think this is your question.
favorite horror monster or killer.
In like a movie or like classic cinema, or if you read books or know how to read in a book,
Ooh.
in pop culture, pretty much.
I do like. Okay, from that movie Sleepy Hollow.
Okay,
You know the
Johnny Depp,
the
Christina Ricci.
maybe that's the wrong one. No,
No,
Sweeney
it's not.
Todd.
The one with the headless horseman.
nope. Okay, everyone, edit this part out then.
Like, that's not it. I don't know.
Okay,
No,
what?
it's the one where the town is abandoned and they have that one character that has the
Silent
really
Hill.
Yes. Okay. So start from here.
Okay.
Okay.
I'll edit. I will be sure to edit that out.
Perfect.
He won't.
I know.
Okay, so Silent
So it's
Hill.
the part Silent Hill and it's the characters, all of them actually fucking
Oh yeah, Pyramid Head
scare
is
me.
crazy.
Yeah, that's okay, so he's my favorite. But then I also liked the nurses.
They were so scary. You
Yeah,
can
I
actually
know.
watch them.
They fuck me up.
The scene, you can watch it with the audio where you can hear the director yelling at the girls. It's like, Nancy, flail your arms. It's actually really
So I-
funny.
That's
They-
really funny. You should
I
watch
think
it,
they're my
and then
favorite.
You won't be scared anymore.
I know. I think they're my favorite because they scared me the most.
I
Yeah.
love that. All right, Sarah, what about you?
Michael Myers. He never fucking dies.
That
Yeah.
is so true. He was
There's
one
a
of the
new
ones.
one coming out.
I'm saying.
One of the
It's
ones
2018.
that
What the
fucked
fuck?
me up. He's still here. I also love Creature from the Black Lagoon, I have to
True.
say. And I also love Freddy Krueger.
Oh, and
yeah.
the Blair Witch Project.
The
Who
Blair
Blair?
Witch.
Blair Witch,
Yeah.
because
Blair Waldorf. The
Yeah.
Blair
Whoa.
Bitch Project.
Serena Van der
I even
Woodsen.
slept with my mom when I saw it, and I was so fucking scared. I was
Yeah.
like, she can't save me. What the fuck?
Okay, so would you sleep inside a coffin for a night? It's not underground. It's just above ground.
No.
Is it closed?
Yes, it's
No,
closed.
no
Okay,
way,
what if,
no
what if I
way.
give you $20?
No, don't even put me.
20?
I can't be enclosed in anything. I don't want that. No.
Okay. Sarah, would you do it?
We would have to raise the stakes. If you're paying me $1,000, I'm sleeping in the coffin.
No.
Other than that, it's a no. 'Cause
I would-
it's shut.
I would do it
And
for a
it's
YouTube
dark.
video. 100% I would do it for YouTube video.
What would be the
Okay.
video?
No
you
way.
shutting the thing and then it just being there for 8 hours?
No, there's got to
Yeah.
be a GoPro in there on night
Yeah.
vision.
Okay, so to follow up with your $1,000 for $10,000.
Okay. Raise the
Buried.
stakes.
Nope.
For
Well,
the
how would
night.
I breathe?
Let's just say that's not a factor.
We got a tube. We'll put a tube.
Okay.
We'll say it's like for sure that you're going to get enough oxygen. For $10,000, you do it.
Oh, yeah.
Mm.
No way.
So if you
I'd
just
suffer. I'd just do PTSD for the rest of my life.
if
for
you have
10,000.
if you have a panic attack or something, it's going to take people like maybe an hour to dig you out.
Nope.
That's okay. $10,000.
No way.
Would I still get it if I have a panic attack?
No,
No,
you have
'cause
to
you-
do the entire night. It's not
24 hours?
No, it's not 24 hours. It's the full night from maybe 12 hours, maybe less than that, 10 hours.
I don't even get that much sleep.
Well, you are that night. You want the money or not? Yes or no?
No, because I can't move around, and then if I can't move around, I'll get fucking sick. I'll
Yeah.
throw up on myself.
I probably wouldn't do that either
Yeah,
if
no
it was
I'll
buried.
puke on myself. Then I'll
Drown in it.
on my vomit.
Okay, next question.
Chocolate candy or fruity, sweet, chewy candy. I already know what you are gonna pick.
What am I gonna pick?
Fruit, sweet, chewy.
Mine too.
Same.
Oh, yes, bitch. Okay, Hocus Pocus or Halloween Town?
Oh, why'd you gotta do that?
It's
Okay.
just a bunch of hocus
I think Hocus Pocus.
I already knew it.
But I'm also mad that Freeform, formerly ABC Family, didn't put Halloween
You could
Town
just-
on their 31 days of
you were just searching
Halloween.
online.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
that is annoying. though.
why is it not on their 30?
I think
Why?
it's because it's Disney.
Yeah,
No.
but it's ABC owns Disney.
Why is Mrs. Doubtfire playing but not Halloween Town?
Why was the
Thank
Parent
you.
Trap playing?
Thank you.
Okay.
We're done with my TED Talk.
Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. Sarah, Hocus Pocus or Halloween Town?
Hocus Pocus. I'm gonna watch it later.
Okay, I'm going to have to say
Ooh.
Hocus Pocus for me as well.
Perfect.
Which horror movie, murder/death, did you find most disturbing?
So, like, you're watching a horror movie and somebody dies in a fucked up way, maybe one of the Saw movies, and you're like, damn, that was a fucked up way to die.
Okay. In the Saw movie, when they have that guy and he's in the contraption where his head is in a machine, his arms are in a machine, and his legs are in a machine, and then they just twist them around, like twist his head all the way around, twist his arms.
Mr. Twister.
Mr. Twister.
What about you, Sarah?
I was going to say, what the fuck was that movie? It was a remake. It was really gory, but I don't think
Evil Dead.
Yeah, but the girl doesn't die.
Who?
The girl.
Oh, the final girl?
Yeah.
Me.
What do you think was the most fucked up? With the Jeep?
Yes.
Okay, that's fucked up. But what about the sister-in-law? With
Oh my
the
God, yeah,
turkey
with the-
carver? Oh, no, that's the friend with the fucking
I think the whole
nail
fucking
gun?
movie, the whole
Yeah.
everything. That,
Oh, Evil Dead. Mwah. The piece de resistance.
oh, Jonathan never says that about any movie.
I never kiss my fingers. They're usually dirty. So
He wouldn't even touch my hand.
Yours.
mine is, we talked about it a little bit before. I think I have two. So I've got the Final Destination, the girls in the tanning beds.
Heard.
Did you see that?
Yep.
Okay, yeah. So Final Destination 3, the tanning bed scene, or I Spit on Your Grave, the guy who plays Damien from Mean Girls. I forget what his name was in the film, but that shit's fucked up.
Jonathan Carson, I love your work. Sorry, I
Thank
said
you.
your last name.
That's you act like we've never said it before.
Oh.
Okay, so Kit Kat or Reese's?
Reese's.
Reese's.
It's Reese's. Do you say Reese's Pieces?
Yes.
Oh, get out of my fucking house.
Get out of my fucking house.
I'm gonna say same for me though. Reese's.
Reese's.
Salem the cat or Binks the cat?
Oh, I'd say Binks.
Okay, disclaimer, Trish is obsessed with Sabrina the Teenage Witch. And
Yeah,
she's
that's
very
surprised.
excited for
So
the
you said
remake.
I
things.
know.
The,
so
the
I-
remix.
Hey.
The remake.
I am excited for the remake, but then I was kind of disappointed when I saw that Riverdale is it's like the same producers as Riverdale. So I feel
Why?
Well,
like,
Riverdale is
Sabrina-
good.
I know I do love Riverdale, but I feel like it might be a little campy.
Well,
Oh.
the original Sabrina was in the same universe. It was Sabrina, Jughead, and all his friends, and also Josie and the Pussycats, and maybe Scooby Doo. I could be wrong with that, but
Okay.
they were
Oh,
all in
that
the
makes
same
sense.
universe.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, Sarah, what about you?
Binks, because I feel like Salem was just always like
A character.
a fucking instigator. He
Yeah.
never helped.
Love that about him, but
Yeah.
I'm gonna say Binks for me as well.
Skittles or Starburst?
That was my question.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. Skittles or Starburst?
Starburst.
I'm gonna say same.
Starburst.
Okay, look at us, triplets.
Yeah.
The Starburst friend.
Next question.
Oh, haunted house or haunted hayride?
Ooh. Okay, so I haven't been to a haunted hayride in a while, but I would say hayride. I think they're freakier because then when people pop out of the like cornfields with fucking what are those things called?
A chainsaw.
For me, it's haunted house because I feel like I can't fucking escape. Like, if I'm on a hayride, I could easily just be like, I could put my hands over my
Right.
head. And
Yeah,
like,
but if you're jumping out of that hayride,
Okay.
yeah, but it's like they can't. Like, I'm
Right.
I'm surrounded by people.
Right. See,
I want to go to a haunted house, guys.
I like.
Yeah, I
I've never
said
been
that.
on a haunted hayride in my entire life. I love a haunted house.
Let's make
Trish,
that
you
happen.
and I went to the haunted house last year, and
we should do the one with both.
oh, let's do it. I don't know if y'all listeners this happens near you, but like we have a thing where you put on like you pay extra. No, you don't even pay extra.
No.
You have the choice to put on a glow stick, and if you have a glow stick, they can like touch you and shit. And I say, touch me, baby. It's been a minute. So you know,
no,
you
but
just,
that shit happens on the hayrides.
I
feel
fell
like.
last year. Remember that?
I do remember that.
can't.
But that pick is a good pick.
Yeah, and Trish like paid for the pic. We were drunk.
I don't care.
She paid for the picture at the end of the thing where they're
I
like
got some
$60.
Yeah, I got some magnets and I
I
got some little
can't.
wallet cutouts.
She literally would.
And I got a
I
big
know.
one in the frame.
I have it on the side of my fridge upstairs.
Yes.
So, okay. So, would you rather be attacked by a werewolf or a vampire?
Vampire.
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 Werewolf.
Because
is
I was
like,
thinking
that's
werewolf.
slow.
Yeah, and yeah,
And
fuck
you're
that
fucking
shit.
like torn the fuck apart.
Yeah, it looks
torn.
really painful. Y'all ever seen
Torn.
Ginger Snaps? If you guys listening
Yeah,
have
no.
not
Oh
seen
my
Ginger
god,
Snaps,
1 and 2. I'm gonna watch it tonight.
what along with Hocus Pocus?
I will
Okay.
watch everything.
No, I won't
Haunting
hold
on
you.
Hill
Park it in
House.
my bed.
Yeah, you've been
Haunting on
promising
Hill
about
House.
4 things that you're watching tonight. I'm holding you accountable tomorrow.
Oh, you know I'll follow through with the snap.
Okay. Next question.
Pumpkin seeds or pumpkin pie?
Seeds.
Seeds.
I'm gonna go with seeds as well.
I'm a
You know what's
savory
funny?
person
All
over
of us,
sweet most
yeah,
of the time.
And I like the crunch.
nobody's picked that. Everybody's always said pumpkin pie.
Really?
Or
I
they
love
just said
pumpkin
no.
seeds. I
I
love
like pumpkin
seeds in
seeds, too.
general. I'm like
Mhm.
a very like crack open, pop it in your mouth type shit.
So, so I already know the answer to this question, but we're gonna ask you anyway. Black bats or black cats?
Black cats.
Black cats.
Same.
Murder weapon of choice.
Oof. I don't think I've ever thought about that. Maybe like a crowbar. I feel like a crowbar could like fuck somebody up.
I'm using a chainsaw. I'm literally ripping
Wow.
this
I'm not-
motherfucker's
Mm.
limb.
So you're really not trying to hide that you're doing it, right? The neighbors are
Oh
gonna hear.
no! Zzz,
Ooh,
blood everywhere.
Like I didn't know. Oh, so not like a violent. Like I could use poison.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, but that's the easy way out.
Yeah, that's true.
And just letting everybody fucking know, disclaimer, this is all for shits and gigs.
I'm not gonna really like slice someone with a fucking.
Kara's ready. I saw
Sarah
the-
can't even start a chainsaw, no
I
offense.
sure can't, but you did see that eye glimmer, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
I would do an icicle because the evidence melts. Next
You
question.
know who I'm thinking about?
What is your favorite part of Halloween? Let's do a little light question there.
I love Halloween decor.
Oh, that's a great.
Ooh, decor.
I just love people's houses being
Right.
decorated. I just decorated my house today. I just love spooky Halloween
Same.
decor.
Same, fucking same, 400%. And I love the tiny, like, novelty shit that you don't
Trinkets.
need. You
Yep.
know my ass is at the dollar section of Target buying shit I do not need for
Don't
me and
even
my
talk
friends.
to me about that. I just bought.
You sure?
Yeah. Oh my god. Okay. Yep.
Yeah, I fucking love
I love
it.
everything.
Fucking-
I love everything.
I haven't had I don't use pencils. Did I just go to the dollar store and buy like 6 fucking Halloween pencils
you
and
did.
toppers? Hell yes.
I just
Hell
bought
yes.
little succulents that are in pumpkins. Why?
Whoa.
I don't need them. I'm gonna kill them, but they're in pumpkins.
Too spooky for you.
I
Love that.
know.
And I also love, like, I'm a sucker for eyeballs. So, like, any of the
Yes.
eyeball shaped candy or the little.
Ooh, eyeball.
I love it. I make
Remember
these.
that one time we tried to make a cat litter cake?
Yes, disaster. So Sarah, yours is everything. Also the candles. The candles got a bitchin' smell.
Yes, I just bought an
Right?
apple cider one.
Love an apple cider one.
Except I do have to be one to admit that I don't like the scent of like pumpkin or
I do.
like cakey. I like crisp and
Remember you
Fresh.
like champagne
fruity.
toast?
Yes, that's my favorite one.
Didn't I buy that for you?
Champagne toast is my
I
favorite
think
candle.
Was
probably
that the
something
three-wick
is champagne toast.
Maybe I just bought you champagne and got you toast. And no, you know what? We
Perfect.
were actually out for breakfast. We were eating toast.
Shut up.
He's a funny one.
He sure is. Okay. Favorite serial killer and why?
Or most like one you find intriguing. If you don't know of any that are popular, that's fine because not everybody's into true crime as much as we are.
I don't think he's a serial killer, but it was that guy in Bucks County I think he was in.
Oh, I remember that.
The one that had like all of those little girls in his basement.
Oh, that's fucking horrifying.
Yeah, he's in prison and it's funny thing. He was just sent to the like Bucks County jail and my brother was on the same block as him
Stop.
who was also in jail at the same time.
Oh, I love that.
But he was just in like a regular jail. Like a
just with
regular
everyone
Just a
else.
county
regular
jail.
thing. He didn't just.
And he
Fuck.
had like all of these girls in his basement, and some of the girls were sisters, but were also moms.
Oh, like that.
Yeah, like
Oh.
incestual, because he like
Fuck
got them all
that guy.
impregnated.
No.
Yeah,
Right.
and the way I guess that he got caught is his neighbors finally were like, I'm seeing quite a few girls that probably shouldn't exist there, but they're there. And I don't know if some of them are kidnapped. I think
Some of them
something
probably grew up there and they're like, this is my life. I don't know.
something with like a family who owed money to somewhere, and he was like, sell me your daughters and I'll make this happen. And like that became a thing in his life, and that's how he had those girls.
Yikes.
Wow, that was intense.
Yes. So not
Mine-
a serial killer, but a fucking weirdo.
Okay.
Mine is Charles Manson. I think he's literally bizarre. Like the way he brainwashed people into
Yeah.
like being basically a cult.
And to doing most of his dirty work for
Right.
him. One that I find interesting is because it's literally what horror movies are made of. I mean, we talk about a lot of fucked up shit, and this is someone we haven't covered on here, but everybody knows him, is John Wayne Gacy.
Mm-hmm.
And because he lived
Was
near where
that,
I lived in Illinois.
Denise? No.
No. But yeah, the whole fact that he was a clown,
Yeah. Right?
horrifying. And I don't want to say he's my favorite. He's a fucking asshole and I fucking hate him. And also his paintings sold for a shit ton of money. See, okay,
saw that.
that's one thing is like one thing is doing a true crime podcast that people don't quite understand who don't listen to podcasts, and they think it's fucked up that we're like promoting them and cheering them on. But we're not. And it's another thing to be like someone rich who has a lot of money to have a painting or a sketch
That's promoting.
that somebody did. No, not just that's promoting, but that a serial killer actually did with the same hands he used to kill people.
Bizarre.
And you're purchasing it for money, and Lord knows where that money's going to. Probably that killer's family,
Right.
or him himself, or herself.
Or money for whatever fucking bond may be set to
Yeah,
get them out
yeah,
of prison.
Right. True.
That's some
They-
fucked up shit. Who? Oh
I
my
agree.
god! Wait, who was it?
I mean, weird people that write love letters and like become like pen pals with serial killers.
I
while
feel
they're
like
in
people
jail
could
is
argue
weird.
that. I wouldn't. I don't think I would do it.
No, but I mean in like a admire like
An admirable way.
yeah.
Yeah, that's different. I know some people do it to like get into the psyche of them.
Yeah, which makes sense. But if you're writing a letter to be like, oh my god, I love you.
Yeah,
I
that's
admire what you're
different.
doing.
Please stop.
Stop it. Pump the brakes.
Okay. All right. Next question. And if oh my god, why is this even a question on here? I hate this question. Pumpkin
Right?
pumpkin carving or pumpkin painting?
Carving.
Okay.
What do you say?
Carving.
Yeah, Sam.
Freddy or Jason?
Freddy.
Freddy.
Freddie.
This is
Sa-
funny.
Sarah, you asked this question. I
Oh my
don't know.
god, wow, why do you hate this question? How many children have been seriously injured or killed from poison candy by strangers during Halloween?
Too many.
0.
Really?
Is that true though?
Yes, it's literally been none.
Oh, because I know that
It's a myth.
hospitals used to like scan the like they would do free x-rays of your candy bags back in the day to see because concerned parents wanted to
Yeah,
make sure
that's
that
how
my
big of a myth
parents
it
would
was.
check my candy. Oh wait, I don't think I ever said what my favorite oh yeah, I did. Halloween costume. I was also a Dalmatian one year and that was pretty fun.
Ooh.
Okay, I don't think we've asked this one before. Name something you wouldn't want to run into in a dark
Yes,
forest or an abandoned building.
That shit from Blair Witch Project. those hanging sticks.
This is a
in
very
the-
open-ended question. I would say literally
Anything.
But those hanging sticks or like articles of clothing or
You don't want to see any people doing the dirty.
no, I don't want to see any people dead.
Oh, that's
They-
true.
I'm gonna say literally anything. I'm
Okay, yeah, me too.
terrified.
Okay, and our last question, which is perplexing and has almost nothing to do with Halloween, but we would like to know.
Perfect.
Do you believe in multiple dimensions or worlds?
Yes.
Same.
Same. Love that.
We'll just leave it at that.
And that is the end of our Halloween special.
Yes. Thanks for having me, you guys.
Thank you so much for taking out the
Thanks for
time and coming. You guys know where to find us, but before we go, we just want to say that Sarah and I are going to be taking a small bit of a break. We're not going to be gone for too long, but when you don't see us popping up on Monday or Mondays, don't be scared. We're okay. We're just going to take a little bit of a break. So also thank you to everybody who has emailed us.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, we had a bit of an overflow, so maybe one episode
We'll just read your stories.
yeah, we'll read your stories, and that would be fun. So thanks to everybody sharing your spooky shit. And honestly, if you have some and you still want to share, fucking send it to us. I don't know when we're gonna get around to it. Did you just see something out the
I
window?
always see something out that
I
window.
saw that.
I've seen it 3 times.
Oh, Christ Almighty!
I just
And with
need
that,
people to stop walking past it.
with that being said, you guys know where to find us on Instagram, Twitter, all that fun shit. We're still gonna be active on there. Also, Patreon. You guys just got a new episode that's out, so go check it out. Also, when this comes out, it's about to be Halloween, so stay spooky, stay safe, wear condoms,
Wear
and
protection.
happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween.
Bye, guys.